So, hello. This is the Shelf Aware podcast. I'm Ren, and today I don't have my usual co-host Lizzie because she's doing the grad school thing, but I do have Daphne, who is here to talk about doing audiobooks. She's an audiobook narrator, and you most recently, well, I don't know if you've done other things in between, but like I feel like you're very busy. But just did my audiobook. So today we are talking about Adversity, which is my Why Choose Western. There she is. She's beautiful. It is coming out on audiobook today through Podium, and Adversity follows the story of Cora, who is a young woman who ends up on her own in the Wild West and fortunately is taken under the wing of two outlaws who teach her how to survive, amongst other things. So it's a really fun book. It is a Why Choose poly Western romance, complete triangles only in this house. But we're we're gonna talk about the Adversity audiobook as well as Daphne, some of your process as an audiobook narrator, which I'm very interested to hear about. So if you are sensitive to spoilers, which is the warning I always give on my podcast, we are going to get into some spoilers. So if you want to be completely surprised, you can go listen and then come back. But we are going to talk about some scenes in the books. So
I'm excited too.
yes. So we met at Booked Eau Claire. What was that? I mean, that was back in
September.
September. Yeah. Yeah. So we've known each other for a little bit. I am a huge audiobook fan. Have been like for so long. I have such a nostalgic, I think, love of audiobooks too, because we used to listen to them in the car all the time when I was a kid. That was like one of the things that because I would get so motion sick as a kid, and that was like one of the ways that I could listen to books. And then the first romance novel I ever read was via audiobook, and it's still to this day. I love listening to the audiobook. That was Jewels of the Sun by Nora Roberts. That was like an OG, but love, 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 love. So, but I remember you coming up to me at Booked, and I've told you this before, that I remember seeing you walk up and I remember thinking, she kind of looks like how I picture Cora, which is so funny because then you ended up being Cora. But please introduce yourself. Tell the people who you are and how long you've been doing this and what made you start. I think it's such a cool thing that you do.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm super excited to be here, and I am so excited that Adversity is coming out.
So
So as Ren mentioned, I'm Daphne Winters. I'm an audiobook narrator, and I've been doing this for a little over 2 years now. It was 2 years back in January. And I looked at my numbers yesterday. I've done a little over 30 books in 2 years, which I'm pretty
wow.
proud of.
Yeah,
And
that's awesome.
I don't know how many hours though. That would take other math that I don't have in that spreadsheet right now. But I got started because I was working for the Forest Service and I was on a temporary position. So I actually have a master's in biology, and that was what I went to school for.
Mm-hmm.
So then I was working with the Forest Service as a forestry technician, and I was working in research and basically like what affects hardwood stands of trees. So like maples, oaks, things like that. And it was a summer position, thank God, because I live in northern Wisconsin. So winter would have been
Yep.
miserable.
Yep.
And I was coming up on the end of my 6-month period, and I said to my husband, what do I do now that my job is ending? And he was like, you should narrate audiobooks. And I said, okay, sure, whatever. Because to yourself, you always think you have the most annoying voice. And you
Yes. Yes. I've had so many people say to me, because I've been making videos talking about heated rivalry and other things on Instagram. And I've had so many people tell me that they like the sound of my voice. And I have always had a thing about my voice that I'm like, it's like, I'm like, no, my voice is too deep. It's too low. But I mean, it's funny. I think we're always our own worst critics, right? But it is funny, especially with voices. I feel like it's always like, what? Oh. I don't think so, but
Yes.
I think you have a lovely voice. I mean, obviously, but
Thank
it's
you.
so funny that you had a big thing about it too.
Yeah, I've always thought I have an annoying voice, but my husband said, "No, you should give it a try." And then I didn't actually, let's see. Oh yeah, I started it in January of 2024, about a week before I ended my first rotation.
Mhm.
And I started with nonfiction, thinking that that would be the only thing I was good at because of my biology background and the fact that I taught a Bio 1 lab
Mhm.
in grad school. So, like, I taught biology, and I was like, well, if I can keep that interesting for people who don't want to be in there, then at least
Yep.
I could do other nonfiction texts. And I decided to throw a couple auditions in, and I got hired for romance, and I was shocked. And since then, I've made it my goal and it's my favorite, and I just sort of dove head first in. I'm also that type of person that just is 2 feet in as soon as you do something.
Mhm.
So, um, fast forward to September of 2025, and that's where I met you at my
Yep.
second ever book event.
That was a good one. Booked is a great event. I think you're going back again this year, yeah?
I am.
Yeah. Together again. I know it's such a good event. I'm so excited to go. Excited to
Me
go
too.
back. So, but yeah, you were kind of. I mean, I think you were doing the brave thing, like, right? You're like walking up to all of these author tables and you're like, hey, I'm, like I'm a narrator. And I think I was just instantly like, oh my God, that's so cool. I think that I have always just thought it's such an interesting thing to be able to one bring a book to life like that, but then I think too, like, I mean, you're making up all of these voices and you're keeping track of everything and you're infusing so much emotion into what you're reading. I mean, what is your approach? Like, do you read the whole book first? Like, how do you kind of start breaking all of that down?
Yeah. So I do read the whole book first. That is something that I always do because
Mhm.
I don't think you get a full view of the characters if you don't. And I think to properly voice, especially a main character, you
Mhm.
have to know how they handle all of these different situations, like the nuance within that person.
Yeah. Yeah.
I like reading the whole book so that I can see
Yeah.
all of the character, where they're strong, where they're weak, where they're stressed. And
Mhm.
so that is a lot of how I take the tone for the character. Like, Cora is inexperienced in life, right? She's naive to things. But at the same time, if you put her in a corner, she's going to fight back. She's going to try and get out. She doesn't just roll over.
Mhm.
She's got
Yeah.
that stubbornness to her. And you might not get that whole view without reading the whole book. Or the fact
Yeah.
that Cypress is extremely, like, sarcastic and funny, but at the same time he has his own insecurities. You
Mhm.
know, it's just I like to see the whole character, and that's
Yeah.
how I develop my voices.
I think that one of the things I think that was really cool for me as I was listening to the audiobook is I feel like one of the things you did, and I'm sure this was done intentionally, but if it wasn't, but I feel like you did a really good job of when in the beginning when Cora is more kind of she's got a lot going on. Like, she's on her own. She's like, I mean, she's not having a good time in that town, and she is just kind of very overwhelmed at times, and she is really inexperienced in terms of just figuring life out. She's never encountered any of this stuff before, but I feel like you did a good job as the story progressed, her getting a little less unsure and a little more by the end, she's I mean, she's a badass in her own right. Not that she wasn't at the beginning of it, like, she definitely kinda comes into her own, and I think it's cool to watch, like, or listen, I guess, to it happen, you know?
Well, I appreciate that so much, so thank you. Yes, I do try to put those
Yeah.
nuances in because so my goal is always to be stylistically conversational in my read. So for people that don't know, there's like two main types of narration. There's conversational, which makes you feel like you're in the story or it's happening to you or you're in the room.
Mhm.
Whereas there's the storyteller type, and that is more like the fly on the wall. You
Mhm.
normally get more of this vibe from like a third person story
Mhm.
because you're seeing it happen to the characters, whereas with a conversational read, you perhaps feel you are the character. And that
Mhm.
is, I have a, excuse me, sir. I have a naughty cat
Kitty cat.
scratching on
I was
my
gonna say, I know
blanket,
it's gotta be one of the cats. Yeah.
but I always try and make it feel like I am the main character
Mhm.
telling the story, or you're inside of my head as I'm experiencing these things. And
Mhm.
so that's that's also how I try and read it when I'm actually narrating is like, how would I be expressing this if this were me?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think you do a really good job of I think one of the things I told you early on was I think you kind of read it almost like a little bit like a radio play or I think was the that's how I described it where it's like there is a lot of emotion in your voice and you do also do the thing where it's like if a character is laughing like you'll infuse that in and I do think it makes it feel like really immersive which is really I think that's as an author that's like what we want to feel like we're in it was really wild for me, I think, to hear, like, my own writing back and almost to kind of be outside of it. It's the first time I've been able to hear it, like, outside my own head was that was trippy. I think listening to the first chapter, I was like, "Oh my god." I was like, "This is wild." So, it was really cool.
I'm glad to hear you enjoyed it because some authors apparently don't like listening back to their own work.
I I actually was thinking that I was really wondering, like, how I was gonna do with it because I feel like I am definitely, I have a hard time, like, I think once I've gone through so much editing, I have a hard time going back and rereading my books because I think once you've read something so many times critically, when it's like you're looking for things to fix, it's really hard
Mhm.
to then shut that off shut that off. So, this is I think really like kind of my first chance to listen to it and just kind of enjoy it and not be working on it really. Like I'm just along for the ride too. But it was perfect timing too because I was listening to it as I was working on Providence, which is the prequel. And so I was kind of listening for like, is there anything that I forgot from an Easter egg perspective? But it also gave me an opportunity to kind of go back and we used some additional things into Providence, so it was good timing. It's good timing. I'm excited for you to read Providence. It's like
I'm excited to read
I'm gonna
Providence.
send you a copy here pretty soon. It's like I'm waiting for it to come back from formatting, but, which by the time this is out, it'll be done, but ARCs will be going out today. But yeah, I'm excited for you to read. I think it'll be fun. I think it's fun to kind of see these 2 characters, like Aiden and Cypress are both pretty mysterious, I think, through the first half. Like, you don't really know much about them, and then even as you start to get to know them more, there's a lot you don't know about the boys, but I love them.
I can't wait to read more about them.
Yeah.
And then I wonder I wonder how it will alter like perceptions, right?
Mhm.
Because you get more of the character. You get to
Yeah.
see more of them.
There is one thing in particular I think that you find out like towards the end of Providence, you get some additional context for some things that happen in adversity, and I think that's gonna be fun for people to be like, "Oh, okay," I think it's because I think it's especially in the beginning, you're not seeing a lot of them, and I think the number of people too that don't realize that Aiden and Cypress are together in the very beginning, uh, they realize later, but I mean, they keep things pretty close to the vest initially, and I think you do in Providence get to see just how really, like, how devoted they are to each other. They're just, they're so I love those boys. I love them.
I
Oh,
actually really enjoyed when I narrated it, how
mhm.
I had missed things when I had read it.
Yeah.
Like, well, there was only one of you in the bedroom,
Yes.
and he
Yeah.
goes, "Was there?" And then
Yeah.
I was like, when I was narrating, I was like, oh my God, how did I miss this?
That's something that people miss so much because I think it's one of those things that I think because Cypress is he's such a little shit. And I think it's like, I mean,
The
he's
best
such a little
kind of
shit.
little shit.
Yeah. I mean, but he loves to rile people up. And so I think sometimes that, you kind of think like, oh, he's just being a little pot stirrer. But like, I've been very careful with Cypress that any dialogue that Cypress has, even when he doesn't sound like it, Cypress is telling the truth. And it might be like, he very much operates in double meanings. And I think you see that a lot in Providence where because you get a lot of scenes of him playing poker. You get more scenes of him playing cards. And like, I think you realize like how much he is really good at actually telling the truth, but letting people believe what they want to believe. So, and I think you and I talked about that. I think I like at one point where I was like, he's never lying. He's even when he said, even when so I think when you go back and read, you're like, oh, like he's saying it right there, and
Yeah.
she's just not picking up on it because she just doesn't know. So, if you go back and read too, when she's changing the sheets, the the sheets are what I think she notices that they smell like pine and campfire, which is like both of the yeah. So I'm like, it's in
Love it.
there. It's in there. But I think too, I also love I have this thing where if there's a book that I really, really love, I always wish I could go back and read it again for the first time. And so I think I like really
Mhm.
consciously try to put in things that you're gonna miss the first read through because it's nothing that's so critical that you're gonna miss the plot, but like
Yeah.
stuff that you're gonna miss reading through the first time. But once you have full context and you go back, you're gonna catch it, and at least it's something. You're not reading it for the
Yeah.
first time, but you are getting to notice some things for the first time, which I always think is fun as a reader myself.
Yes. I completely agree with that because it's like you get not only are you getting to reread something you love, but then you're also getting that little bit of new in there that keeps you engaged. So,
Yeah.
like, for as a movie example, like, As Above, So Below is probably a B-rated horror flick, but if you've ever seen it, the first time you watch it, it's you're so engaged because there's so many things happening, you don't really know what's happening, but then
Mhm.
the second time you watch it, you're like, "Oh my god, I
Yeah.
didn't I didn't see that there, or I didn't catch that this was connected to that."
Mhm.
And I think it just makes something that much more special, and then also, you as an author being able to do that, next level. It's amazing. I can't imagine the forethought that goes into that, so, like, kudos to you.
There's a lot of edits. There's a lot of rounds of edits, but I think there's some things that I know that as I'm writing it initially, because I'm a writer who goes in sequence. So I sit down, I write the beginning, and I go through to the end. I can jump around a little bit. And I was just talking to another author recently at an event, Brittany Cherry, who's an amazing author, but she was saying that she's able to jump around. And I always am very envious of that ability, but I write like beginning to end. And I think it's one of those things where I'll kind of get to the end and then knowing how it's going to end, I'll then go back and like I'm kind of putting some things in. But there's certain things as I'm going that I'm like, because I generally know kind of what's coming because I've thought about the story for so long. I'm like, okay, I know where this is going. I can kind of put some of that stuff in. But some of my favorite things in adversity were added very last minute. Like the negotiation scene was added like days before that book went out. I mean, it's like literally had this thought. I was like, that would be really funny and that would be very them and I'm gonna put it in there. That's the power I think that comes with like still being indie, but I'm just like I can pop that in, but and that's one of my absolute favorite scenes.
The negotiation at the towards the end of the book?
The one where after they catch up to her, after she
Oh, that one.
yeah,
Yes, that one,
yeah.
fantastic. That one had me giggling. I was
Yeah.
thinking about Cora and Aiden's
Oh,
banter negotiation towards
yes.
the end, and I loved that. I loved voicing that scene because
Yes.
he's just so exasperated. Why?
Why?
Why in
Why would
God's
we
name
do
would you do
that?
that?
I know. It's so funny because he's so, he really does. He picks twice. He picks partners that are just that just give him gray hair, but he loves them both so much. But I think it's just so funny. Aiden is very I identify with Aiden so much. Aiden is very me. I think of the characters, I think probably Aiden is the most me, where it's just like the worrier, and then I think Cypress is who I would like to be. And then Cora is like kind of, kind of a mix of both. But I used to refer to them as like the ego and the id when I was writing them. And yeah, he gets just so exasperated, but there's also no place he would rather be. It's like that meme where it's like, if I'm such and such, don't worry, I'm exactly where I want to be. I think my editor, when she was reading Adversity, she said Aiden is stressed but obsessed. And I was like, that is the perfect way to describe him.
I agree.
Yeah, he's so stressed, but also no place he'd rather be. But yeah, and you'll see
So,
that in Providence too.
do we ever get to meet Cypress's mom? Maybe you cut this out. I don't know. But I'm dying to know about Cypress's mom.
It's a great question, and you definitely do learn more about Cypress's backstory, and Aiden's. You learn a lot about both of them in Providence and, like, why they are the way they are. There are some flashbacks that you kinda get to see them even younger. I really tried to give both of them the opportunity to tell their story, what shaped them, but then also you get from them meeting the first time. You are with them when they meet the first time, and it was a ton of fun to write. I mean, you really because they are very much opposites, and it was a ton of fun to write because I think that when you meet them in adversity, they've kind of evened each other out a little bit. They need Cora to kind of to help, like, she has her own role in the group, but she, like, kind of brings balance to the force, but, when you meet them in Providence, they are very much, like, the undiluted like, Aiden is very grumpy, Cypress is fucking unhinged, and, they're a ton of fun, but I really loved getting to write them that story down because it's what I had in my head as I was writing adversity, but it's to get it all down on paper is cool. So,
I'm so excited.
they're a lot of fun. It's a really fun. I tried to keep the same. I think adversity, I really wanted adversity to feel like a really fun book. It's a fun book. There's some moments in there that are heavy, but it's a fun book, and Providence, I think, is very much the same way. So,
You definitely created a very balanced novel because there's parts of it that are cozy, there's parts
yeah.
of it that are suspense, but there's also a lot of plot with the romance, right? Like,
Mhm.
sometimes we pick up romance books that are very romance forward. There's not as much, like, the plot just isn't as thick, and that's
Yeah.
fine. Sometimes that's what you want to read. Like, I love a Christmas novella that's like a 2-hour read.
Yeah.
You're not going to get an
Same.
elaborate plot in a cozy Christmas romance,
Yeah.
unless it's a full novel. But, like, you do an excellent job of integrating of like a very detailed plot while also having a romance develop between three people. And it's a beautiful book. It's so well
Thank
written.
you.
Like, Ren, seriously.
Thank you. I wanted to go on an adventure, I think that's and I love Westerns, and I think that there's something so fun about that genre, but, yeah, I think that and I think my first book my first crush, I think is kind of similar in a there's definitely, like, a plot happening, but I think that one is a lot more it's not kind of the typical romance of, like, are they gonna get together? It's like, okay, they get together actually quite quickly, and then it's like, can they actually stay together based on, like, everything they have
Mm.
going on? But I think Adversity, I really wanted to be a lot of fun, but then I also wanted all the three of them to have very distinct relationships with each other. And I think it's one of those things where all of their relationships, there's nothing missing. Like, there's nothing missing from Cypress's relationship with Aiden or vice versa. But it's like, you wouldn't want them without each other. They just all work
Yeah.
together so well. So they're so fun.
You did a
They're
great
fun.
job.
Thank you.
I mean, also
How,
it's stunning. So
she's very
if
pretty.
anyone's watching
Rachel
the video, it's stunning.
McEwen did an amazing job. A question for you, though, I think, on the subject of having like three main characters, like what was your approach to kind of balancing that out? And like, I think I tried really hard to give Cypress and Aiden like really distinct voices in the way that they're written. But like, how did you kind of approach? I think especially because you have two guys
Yeah.
making them sound, you have two guys and you have Cora. Like, how did you kind of approach making them sound different and like kind of developing their voices and all of that fun stuff?
Well, now that the book is done, I'll tell you that when I went to record the audition, I was like, oh my God, how do I do this?
You did such a good audition, though. You did great. You did a great audition. You did not
Well,
sound
thank you.
nervous, but I know you told me later that you were like, I was so, but you didn't sound nervous. And you picked a really intense scene to read. You picked a pretty intense scene. I mean, you really did. That's a
Okay, so
intense
I'll
scene.
touch on that. When I audition and I get a choice in what my audition is, so obviously this production was with Podium. And so for those of you that don't know, this book was done with Podium. And when you get sent an audition, I look at it and I go, okay, where are the main characters speaking? And how can I show that I can voice their characters distinctly? And so that was why I sent you a portion from chapter 2 and a portion from a little bit of a banter somewhere in the middle.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so that's kind of how I approach my auditions. But then as far as character voices go, because I had already read
Mm-hmm.
Adversity in total, which I normally don't have the opportunity to do that before an audition, but you wrote your character voices distinctly in the way of their personalities. And so this weekend at VoiceOver Atlanta, we were told how to create character voices. Not super detailed, but like a rough outline. So obviously, pitch is one thing that a lot of people do. However, like, if you don't add personality to it, it's not as engaging of an experience. So, you give me a gruff cowboy who is feeling impatient at everyone for not following any instructions or doing what he wants.
Ever.
Ever, yeah.
Ever.
I was like, well, I'm just going to make him sound a little bit more, I don't want to call him flat, but like he's not going to have as dynamic of a talking range, right? Because he's
Mm-hmm.
just kind of frustrated, like, what the hell are you guys doing? Like, why aren't you
Yeah.
listening to me? Whereas
Yeah.
Cypress, he's got that like mischievous note to him, like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna do something just to push your buttons, right? And
Yes.
so
Yeah.
that was how I approached giving the boys different voices because they have such distinct personalities. So you would just pacing, you adjust your tonal variations.
Mm-hmm.
And that was,
Yeah. That's so interesting. I think it's so interesting to hear you kind of just talk about like, a little bit like kind of the science behind it. Because I think, and Aiden, I think is, too, he's kind of a man of few words. Like he doesn't really, and I agree with you where he's kind of just a little bit more like, if he's talking, it's like, like, okay, like, you know, whereas Cypress, I always kind of picture he reads a lot like that, and he's kind of just found words that he thinks are fun and he just like intersperses them in his dialogue. But like, and I think that's why I think there's a line very early on in the book which I'm sure was very kind of frustrating for you as a narrator, whereas he doesn't really, it says something about like that he doesn't really have a distinct accent. It's more a manner of speaking, and I think in my mind it was because he has taught himself to talk like what he thinks a gentleman will sound like. And I mean, because Cyprus is not, well, you'll find out this in Providence, but this is a slight spoiler. But like Cyprus is not from money. So he is, it's very much like this is a persona that he's created. But that is also very him at this point. He's been doing it so long. It's him. But
Yeah.
he's also just a demon. So,
He's like, I don't know, because you've watched Supernatural, right? Because we've talked about
yes.
it.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah.
He kind of reminds me of Gabriel in some ways, right? Like, he's here to,
Yes.
like, joke around and have a
Yeah.
good time, but
Yeah.
my God, if you're on the wrong end of the joke, man, you are having a hell of a day.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I mean, I think that's the thing that I just love about his character is like he is so he comes off as so kind of like he's just having a good time. He's like he's funny, he's very kind of quick-witted, and he's just kind of having a good time, but like you see moments where you're like, "Oh, he could fuck you up." Like, and he would. He absolutely would. And I mean, I think that's the thing too, a little bit is like Aiden is the one that kind of comes off, I think, as a lot more kind of like he's very broody and he's gruff and like you're like, oh, like he's of the two of them, he's like the bigger threat. And that's not that's not necessarily the case.
One is just a little bit more clearly a danger than the other.
Yes. Well, and Aiden has more self-prescribed rules than Cypress does. I think what Cora says at one point that like, his moral compass is not without gray, but to him it is very black and white. He's definitely operating in the gray zone in some cases, and I think you do see a lot more of him kind of what his mentality is on like who is bad and who is good in Providence, which was a lot of fun to write too. But he's a ton of fun.
So many
There's one
teasers
there's
here.
one scene in particular that I'm so excited for you to read because I think you'll think it's really fun. But yeah,
I can't wait.
yeah. I think kind of going back to the audition process, like I mean, we met at Booked,
Yeah.
but and I think you were kind of like you're like I'm a narrator. You talk to authors there, and then you took home adversity, and I think it was
Yeah.
one of those things where even for me, I was like, okay, well, she could read it and not like it. It could totally be not her bag. And then I think you texted me weeks and later, and you were like, okay, I'd read it. If you ever turn into an audiobook, like, let me know. And I was like, okay. And then we got the opportunity. I was like, okay, girl, let's,
Yeah, it
yeah,
was crazy so because I read books for work, which I've always loved reading,
yeah.
but because now it's also
Part of your
part of
job.
my job,
Yeah.
sometimes I don't want to pick up a book.
Yeah.
Sometimes I just want to do my 1,000-piece puzzle that I have going on, you know?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm like an old cat lady in some ways. I've got 2 cats, I've got 1,000-piece puzzle that
I'm a
I
big
like to
fan of
do.
puzzles too. You're in good company. I'm a puzzle person myself. You're in good company.
I just did one, it was so hard. It was
We
not one of the
got
easy ones.
My son just turned 4 recently, and I got him like this he's very into Legos, and which is another thing I get to do with him because I also love Legos. But I got him this puzzle, and I did not realize that it was like a 1,000-piece puzzle. It was hard, and I was like, it's okay, I'll do it. It's like, don't worry. I was like, I'll do it, bud. Don't worry about it. I got it. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. But yeah, I love a good puzzle. I do.
I have
Puzzle and
so
an
many
audiobook
Halloween.
is perfect.
Oh, yeah. I'll put on an audiobook while I'm doing the puzzle because
Yeah,
then it doesn't feel like reading, I'm just being told a story.
yeah,
But anyway, because I don't always read when I'm not working, but I bought the book in September at Booked, and then I read it November, like
yeah,
mid to late November when it started snowing here,
yeah.
and I got through it and texted you that I would love to audition and, like, if you ever go to make a book, I would love to do it.
Yeah.
And literally you replied to me, Podium picked up my book and I told them to contact you, so you should be hearing from them." And then 2 hours later, I got an email from one of their casting directors, and I was like, "Oh my god."
They've been great. I mean, they've been really great. I can speak to my side of things. I think they've been great and they've been really on it. And I think they also, because they knew that I was releasing Providence, because I told them, I said, the next book is going to be coming out in April. And they really hustled to kind of get, get shit done. But yeah, I mean, I think that, from the time like you kind of messaged me and you're like, hey, I think you messaged me just like perfect timing. And I was like, okay. And I was like, this is good. This is very, serendipitous. And I'm like, this is all kind of coming together at the same time. And so I was like, okay, like, yeah, like that's, but I remember mentioning to them, I was like, there is a narrator that has read the book, that loves the book. And I would love for her to get a chance to audition. And, but yeah, you sent in an audition and then, um, I felt like it was a very easy choice because I think you just did such a good job. I think embodying Cora and then the boys too. Which I remember listening to it and you did chapter 2 and I was like, okay, this was a good one because she's very frustrated in that scene. And so I
Uh,
think that was a good one. And then you jumped forward and I was like, oh my God, the boys are here. That was that was a lot of fun. That was a lot of fun to hear them for the first time. I was like, "Oh my god, they're here. The boys
I
are here
loved
too."
voicing the sheriff, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah,
Voicing the sheriff
you
was
did a good
like
job.
it was so much fun.
You really nailed his just complete uselessness, like, you really did. I think they're like, um, that line where Cora's like I think he says something along the lines of, I don't like, "What the world's coming to, I pray on it." Nightly, and she goes, "And should God decide not to intervene?" Like, and I think you delivered that line really well, where it was like, you could tell just she's like, "I'm gonna kill this guy. I'm gonna" I mean, she's so frustrated at that point. She's been dragged around for months at that point. I thought you did a really good job of just showing how frustrated she is. She's so frustrated, but
Nothing gets
still fighting the good
people
fight.
riled up like incompetence.
And she's stuck. I mean, she's stuck
Yeah.
there waiting for them to do something. And she is, I mean, in that time period, like she's stuck. I mean, she's she's fucked. I mean, at that point, like, I mean, she's like, oh shit. And that she knows that too. She's like, okay, I'm on my own. Nothing's happening. I don't have a plan B. Like, you know,
She's been
she doesn't
waiting
need it.
2 months.
She's
2
waiting too,
months
yeah.
for
She's been
someone to
waiting.
do something, and God still has not intervened.
God is
Like,
not
okay,
intervening. Yeah,
what next?
yeah, yeah. I think it's, yeah, and then I think too, then you meet the boys and, um, I think I've had a lot of people ask me, like, should they read the prequel first? And
Oh.
I kind of still advocate reading Adversity first because I think if you read Providence first, you're not gonna get that. In adversity, you're not quite sure when you meet them
Yeah,
what the deal is, but, I mean, if
because
you're
it adds
listening to
to
this
it, 'cause she
podcast
has
episode
no
now, you do.
idea
Yeah,
their, like, relationship until
yeah,
that chapter 19 or 20? I don't remember, 21,
yeah,
somewhere in that window.
yes, yeah,
I love her panic in the bushes. Like,
yeah, I
Cypress
mean,
knows
it's
the whole time.
so yeah, yeah, and he's just, like, hanging on to that information because he's such a shit, like, he's such a little shit. I just picture him walking back and being like, "Oh."
Hmm, I wonder what our little bird was up to.
Yeah, he's like, "That's fun," I mean, he's just so delighted, I think, by life, like, I mean, which he's been through a lot too, and he still is just delighted, but, yeah, I know. Well, the number of people too that I've said that they did not know what was gonna happen in that chapter until it happened, I think is really fun, but there's a lot of people that kind of discovered along with Cora, and you're like, I think that to me is fun too, but then I think if you go back and reread, then you see it. And you think, like, Cypress telling Aiden to get on his knees is probably not just, like, fun conversation between friends.
Well, like, 'cause as you're reading adversity, unless you know the relationships,
Yeah.
you could think of them as friends, right?
Yes.
And maybe they're both just interested in Cora in their own ways. So the
Yes.
dynamic completely changes from what you think
Yeah.
it might be.
Well, because you kind of start to think like, "Oh god, is this gonna be a love triangle? Is this gonna cause problems between the boys, and is she gonna have to choose?" And then I've been very adamant that I don't believe in choosing. But and then I think you realize it's like, "Oh shit, they're all this is a full triangle situation." But yeah,
In
I
comes
think
the
that's
negotiations.
yeah. And they very much are like both I mean, Aiden is hesitant for different reasons than it's not a jealousy thing, it's a, "But this seems too good to be true" thing for him, and then, but Cypress is like, "Let's do it." He's, like, ready from day one. He's like, "Yeah, no, this is great, let's do it." But yeah. No, they're funny together. I think they're funny together because they are so opposite that, you know
Perfect balance.
they are. They're perfect balance. And adversity kinda leaves them in, like, a little bit of a they got a little bit of a Robin Hood vibe going at the end of adversity.
Yes. I
Yeah.
loved that. She's like, "Well, if you ever run into her,
Yeah.
you know she knows, but, like."
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. I think that was one of my favorite, like, lines right at the end is that, like, heard the oldest daughter turned outlaw, and she's so proud of like, Cora's, like, so proud of herself.
It's like, "Look what I did with my life, and
She's
my mom
like
wanted to sell me to this old man."
she's like, "Yes, I did." Yep, yeah. But I know she's so proud of herself. She's like, "Yeah, I did it. I'm an outlaw."
I loved the morals of Aiden and Cypress in regards to murder.
Yeah,
Like you said, they don't view it as gray because they view their morals as black and white. Well, at
yeah.
least Aiden does. Cypress is like, "I let him
So
think it is."
yeah. I think the thing is that Cyprus does have and I think you learn more about it in Providence too, and I think it's alluded to in Diversity, but, like, Cyprus does have a code that he follows, and I think what's interesting about them is that Aiden is the one that of the 2 of them, is the one that supposedly believes in God, and I'm not saying that he doesn't, but he has, like, kind of this, like, fractured relationship with faith,
Yeah.
and I think that he's the one that is religious, but Cyprus is the one that's the believer. Like, Cyprus believes in things, absolutely, and Aiden is the one that struggles. But Cyprus is very firm in his ideology. I think that what it more is that he's willing to bend it for Aiden and Cora, but, like, in his mind, it's very clear. He says to Cora that he's like, "If there is a scale, I know it's not weighed in my favor," but I don't think he doesn't really think that there is. So, I grew up I was raised Catholic. So,
So was I.
yeah. So, I think I was in Catholic school, kindergarten through senior year in high school. And I'm not a practicing Catholic now. I'm not I think a lot of what Aiden goes through in terms of his thoughts about faith, I think are very reflective of a lot of things that I've gone through as a person. But I think that there's something that I just love about Cyprus really being the one that's like the true believer, even though he's not religious.
I like that too
Yeah.
because I have a one of my closest friends who has 0 doubts about
Mhm.
anything, and I love
Yeah.
how steadfast she is.
Mhm.
But I am more like Aiden in that
Yeah.
regard.
Yeah.
I You love the person who holds you steady when you have doubts and when you're unsure
Mhm.
of things.
Yeah.
And I loved those notes that you put into Aiden and Cypress.
Thank you. I think I am also too. I am very I'm a thinker about a lot of things. Like, I'm like, well, what about this? What about this? What about that? And I think that I myself, like Aiden, am like kind of captivated by the idea of someone being able to believe absolutely like that. I'm like, that's pretty, I mean, that's not a gene that I have. So I think it's like, it's like being able to write it into another character and also writing it in a way that's not like, he's not using that faith against, he's not using that to like judge other people. He's like, this is my personal belief system. If you want to have that belief system, that's fine. I'm like, he's like, yeah, that's cool. Like, I don't care. But he's very, very black and white in his own way of thinking, in his own way. But I think that was like one of the really fun things to get to play out a little bit more in Providence is just this difference in how they view the world. And, you know, Cypress, for all that he's been through, is still very optimistic. So
Think it's
something to,
easier to see the light when you've seen the dark
yes, yeah. Well, and I think
for
it's
some
one of
people.
those, yeah. No, I think there's some truth to that. I think my mentality with Cypress has been that he's survived the worst, and it almost has made him think that he's invincible a little bit. Like he does have a little bit of a God complex. That he's like, well, if I survive that, then I can survive anything, and this won't be the thing that takes me down. Whereas Aiden is like, everything could kill us. Like
Yeah.
this could be the day that, it's just a very different way of viewing the world. But yeah, I think Cypress definitely does have that like mentality of I've survived the worst, so therefore I'm, you
Come what
know,
may.
come what may. Like come what may, we'll figure it out. But
I can't
love
wait to
them.
read more about them.
I think you'll enjoy it. I think especially because you like me have lived in their heads for a while because you've I think it'll be fun for you to see like the big how they started out. But there's definitely Easter eggs in there for Cora too.
I'm
So
gonna try and find them, and I'm gonna message you if I find them.
I think you'll catch them because I think you're so like, I think just because you've again lived in her head too, I think you'll catch him. But there's whispers of her there. Yeah. So, but it's before the time. But I mean, it's 9 years before everything that happens before. So they've been together for a long time.
I love that.
Yeah. My mom, who is one of your biggest fans,
Oh, yes.
she's
I love her.
she sent me some questions to ask you too. I was like, I'm talking to Daphne on the pod, and she was like, oh my God. She was asking how you manage to change between characters and emotions like so quickly. Like do you have to kind of take a beat, or are you able to kind of like do it on the fly, and then like are you kind of pausing and editing later? I probably not, right? Like you're kind of having to do it as you go, right? Or you tell me. You tell me.
So, no, I am ADHD. So, my brain, like, when you're reading a rom-com and the girl is,
Yeah.
like, kinda awkward and she's flipping between, like, "Oh my god, I can't believe I said that. Wait, is there something in my hair? Is my hair okay? Oh, wait, I have to
Mhm.
go do this later?" That's my brain all
Yeah.
the time.
That's how my
And
brain is
so
too. I feel that. Yeah. Yeah. I feel that.
so I think it gives me the ability to shift emotions in a book pretty quickly. And like I said, I like the listener to feel like they are the character
Mhm.
when they're hearing it or in the same room as the character. And so I try and be the character.
Yeah.
Like how would I react in this situation if this was me?
Mhm.
Because I mean, and I'm a fairly emotional person. I wouldn't say I'm like dramatic, but I'm a fairly emotional. Like my face is very loud. Every expression
Same.
that it's
Yes.
always there.
Yes. Yeah, I
And
know. No
so
poker face. Yeah.
no. Mm-mm. I actually got called out in a panel this last weekend because something they had said surprised me. And then they were like, "You don't know what the audience is?" I was like, "Oh no, I know what the audience is." But like it was the statement before that I was like, huh.
Yeah.
And she's like, "Oh, you looked confused." And I was like, and I I wasn't going to tell her in front of a room full of people that it was actually your previous statement. But yeah, I think that's what helps with at least the emotion shift
Mhm.
is I'm always trying to imagine how other people feel in all kinds of situations because
Mhm.
like growing up for me, I'm the oldest daughter and I'm the oldest child.
Mhm.
And so I feel like emotions were not something that were like my family is emotional and loving, but at the same time it was a pull up your bootstraps and just like,
Mhm.
well, no one's dying, so you're fine. And
Yeah.
so and so I think the ability to show emotions now and trying to understand how people feel is important to me.
Mhm.
And so even if it's, you could say quotes, just a book,
Mhm.
this is someone's baby. This is someone's creation. This could be someone's life and I don't know them, but like what if I were experiencing it? And
Mhm.
so that's how I approach the shifts. And as far as characters go, I would say it's similar.
I think that I was reading something recently about they'd done a study and they found that people that read fiction tend to just be more empathetic because I think it is because of exactly what you're describing where you're like getting this opportunity to kind of put yourself in someone else's shoes and feel what they're feeling and understand a life and an experience that's completely different from your own. And I think that is like one of the things that is so valuable about books is they do teach us different perspectives and they do teach us different emotions. And so I think that's cool to kind of that you're kind of thinking through that as you read. I think well you kind of mentioned the guy voices. So I think a question for my own curiosity is do you so this adversity is a dual narrator. So
Mhm.
there's you and then there's Rowan Hayes who does the chapters from the guy's POV. Do you guys
Oh,
compare notes at all? Or like how does
so good narrators will
yeah.
communicate throughout the process. And
Yeah.
I say good narrators because there are people in the industry that don't communicate and they are not
Mhm.
good co-narrators to work with. Rowan Hayes is amazing to work with. He
That's
was
awesome.
so friendly in the email chain, like, I didn't ever
Mhm.
feel like I was inconveniencing him with questions. Like, I recorded ahead of him because that's
Mhm.
how our schedules met up, and so
Mhm.
I'd get through a chapter, and I'd put markers in for Frank, say, and then I
Mhm.
would take sections of Frank and throw them in a file, and I would upload them to a drive that we shared, and I said, "Hey, Rowan, here's my voice for Frank. I have his lines marked with markers in my chapters. So if this voice doesn't work for you, we can go back and switch it, but this is what I have." And he would answer
Mhm.
me like, "Hey, Daphne, this is great. I can totally do that." And like, he was phenomenal
That's
to
awesome.
work
That's
with.
cool.
And anytime he had questions, he reached out. Like, he was so timely. And like I said, he was overly friendly in the emails. Like, not in a bad way, but like,
But just
how
very
sometimes emails are cold?
collaborative.
He was not
Yeah.
cold.
Yeah.
He was so friendly. And I can't speak highly enough of him as a co-narrator in a dual narration because dual narration, I would argue, is actually harder than duet in some ways. Like, you have to make sure your voices are at
Yeah.
least similarly styled for characters
Mhm.
so that the listener doesn't get lost. Like, because my interpretation might have been wildly different than Rowan's, but because we communicated, we knew we were on the same page.
Yeah.
Whereas in a duet, I would just be doing the female voices and he would be doing the male voices. So,
Yeah.
I think that is easier about a duet. However, sometimes you're like, "Oh man, if I knew they were going to say it that way, I would have said it differently." Whereas that's a
Yeah.
challenge in a duet, right? You're not usually doing it in real time, but
Mhm.
dual narration matching voices is probably the hardest part to me.
I think yeah, I mean, you guys did a good job, I think. I mean, I could definitely tell that they sounded like you guys had compared notes. So I think I was
Oh,
curious about
good.
that, but um but I was like, was that luck? Is it luck or but I think but no, it sounded I think you guys both um it sounded to me like you guys both had fun with, like, the difference between Aiden and Cypress, because I think means and Cypress's lines are, I'd imagine, kind of tricky in some places because he's very verbose in some of the wording that he uses.
Sometimes with people who are really strong personalities, especially like sarcastic ones,
Mhm.
you don't always catch the humor in the middle of working. And
Yeah.
so, like, I've had books that I've had, like, a couple pickups for where the author's like, "You missed the joke." And I was like, "Fair pickup. Let me go back and fix that because you're
Yeah.
right. I completely missed the joke."
And I think it's one of those things where I think for Cypress, that's by design. He's doing that on purpose. Like, 'cause he's hiding his humor in, like, some of the language that he's using because he doesn't want people to pick up on it. Like, and so I think, but I mean, not as much with Aiden and Cora, but I think that, he's a he I know you're not supposed to have favorite children, and I'm not saying that I do, but he's a ton of fun. He's a ton of fun to write, I think is the thing.
What else does your mother have for me?
What else did she say? She sent me lots of questions. She said, let's see, she asked how you keep your energy up. If you like, so like, how do you know when it's time to take a break or?
So, your book I'm sorry, I'm gonna get emotional here.
Mm,
I actually found out that my cat had,
I
like,
remember that.
very limited
Yeah.
time left in the middle of
Mm-hmm.
recording your book.
Yeah.
And there were 2 days that I did not record at all because I had been crying so much that I knew my audio would be
Yeah.
terrible because
Yeah.
something you don't think about is your narrator can't have a bad day and then hop in the booth if they've been crying because their sinuses are full of tears, and then all
Yeah.
you hear are sinus pops and, like, their voice is scratchy, like so I took a couple days, and then it was like, I have a deadline, I have to get back in the booth. Pulled up I just I put on my big girl boots and I got in my booth, but, if you let yourself get too frustrated,
Mm-hmm.
that's one of the times that I'm like, these lines aren't coming out well. I'm having to redo the same sentence 5 times, and it's like, if a page takes me longer than, like, 5 minutes to narrate, granted, depending on the size of the
Mm-hmm.
text in the book formatting, but, like, if it was taking me more than 5 minutes to do, like, the first page of a chapter, that's when I call it. Like, I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
"Nope, I need to take a break and come back because
Yeah.
I can't it's gonna come out terrible." If you're stumbling all the time, then it
Yeah.
just sounds disjointed as you listen back, and it's just like, "You know what? Nope." But I also know the time of day when I'm most productive as far as narrating, and I'm most productive between, like, 10 and 2. That doesn't mean I don't
Mm-hmm.
narrate outside of those hours, but those I know are my, like, strongest hours. My coffee's kicked in, I'm awake, I might take lunch in there, I might not. Again, ADHD, sometimes food escapes me, and I'm like, "Why am I starving at 2 p.m.?" And I'm like, "Well, I haven't eaten
Oh, I didn't
anything
eat
other than
lunch.
my cup of coffee today." But I think I don't know, I love this work, which makes it
Mm-hmm.
so much easier to just, like, connect and keep your energy up,
Yeah.
um, but sometimes you just gotta know when to take a break, and if
Yeah.
your head can't be in the game, you shouldn't be in the booth.
Yeah, I mean, I think writing is very similar in that I think there are certain I am, like, very particular about, like, I don't let myself believe in the concept of writer's block.
Mm,
Um, like, I don't let myself ever think, like, "Oh, I have writer's block." I am tired. I need to go get a snack. I need to go get a drink. I need to just get up and walk around for a little while. I need to maybe just give it a rest for the day. Sometimes I feel like too, even if I just like lay down for like 20 minutes and then I can get back up, I think sometimes too, I'm very similar in that like I could sit here and continue to try to beat my head against the wall on this on on this word count. Or I
Yep.
could take a break and come back and probably crank it out a lot faster and feel a lot better about what I've created. So it's hard though, I think, especially to your point, like when you have deadlines and things like that, it's like, you wanna get things done, but I think at the same time too, it's like if you get too in your head about like putting too much pressure on yourself, then that's a creativity stifler too. But yeah, yeah,
I have a Word doc that I have like 40,000 words in,
yeah.
and I like it's a book of my own creation, but the thing is, when I feel any sort of stressed about life or about narration or like how many books do I have to prep or am I behind on my recordings or am I behind on sending an invoice out, like those all of those things get to me and I
Mhm.
can't write. So I can very much understand why those things would hinder your ability to write because it's like as soon as those stressors come in, like
Yeah,
the
yeah.
creativity is gone.
Yeah, well, and I think too, because you're also there's the business side of it too. Like, it's like there's this creative endeavor that you're doing, but then there's also like a lot of stuff that's got to get done on the business side of it too. It's not just the fun stuff. So I think, and that all does take energy, and there's only so much in the cup, and but yeah, I think I feel very similarly about writing. Okay, my mom's last question, because I think we touched on pretty much everything else. She wanted to know what is the easiest type of scene for you to read, and on the other side of the coin, what is the hardest?
Oh. The easiest type of scene, I honestly think are we going for style or, like, genre of
It's whatever you want, boo. It's whatever you want.
okay, well, then I'll touch on both a little bit. I can really, really nail a slightly awkward but also sarcastic main character.
Mhm.
I love banter, and I love a little bit of awkward, like, "That actually came out of my mouth. I can't believe
Mhm.
I actually said that out loud. That was an inside thought." Um, I I
Yeah.
love narrating those scenes, but I also think the type of scene that I connect with so easily is the "I think
Mhm.
I'm falling in love."
Mm.
And so that scene with Cora and Cypress after the dress shop, like, I think that type of scene, I mean, and I love a spicy scene, but, like, a romantic
Yeah.
spice or just a romantic entanglement scene of any sort, whether it's
Mhm.
just with banter or with heart, like, I mean, everyone remembers those first flutters, right? Like, I remember when I
Yeah.
first told my now husband that I was falling for him, and I was
Mhm.
like, "I think I'm falling for you. Like, what are we doing? Like, are we dating?" Like, everyone remembers that, like, frantic feeling of, like, "I think I'm falling,"
Yep.
and
Yeah.
I love it. I love that so much. I think the hardest scenes I think if the emotions aren't super clear sometimes or if
Mhm.
the wording gets really long, I know that's more of a technical thing than a subject thing, but, like, really verbose, descriptive sentences will take longer to narrate because, like, I've run out of air and I'm like, "Oh shit, I need air. How do I
Mhm.
make this sound pretty?" Your, auditioning for your book actually got me sent to another casting director,
Nice.
and they had me audition for a male, 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 female book, and I was like, "Well, I've got 2 voices, so can I do 3?" And I
I
did
feel like
end up in that book.
nice. I think like 3 I feel like 3 guys is hard, because I think it's well, in more ways than one, but I think, like, it's especially as a female narrator, I feel like, because it's like you are kind of having to drop your voice into that lower register,
Yeah.
and then also differentiate them enough that they are distinct. I think, like, I find it very impressive.
Well, thank you.
Thank you so much for letting me pick your brain about all this stuff, and thank you so much for reading my book and doing such an amazing job. It's so exciting. I'm so excited for everybody to listen to it. And what would be the easiest way for people? I mean, you're very active on Instagram, so what would be the easiest way for people to kind of follow you to find your work? Like, what's the easiest? Would that be Insta or you tell me?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me on your podcast, and most of all, for letting me voice your book baby.
Thank you.
I I loved it, and I loved the opportunity to get to do it. So I'm really grateful. So thank you. The best way to follow me would be on Instagram. That's where I'm most active. I do have a TikTok, but I loathe that app. It's like the bane of my existence because I find it completely overstimulating. Like, the fact that something is always moving or playing, like, puts me over the edge. I can't handle it. Like, Instagram, you can at least have, like, a stationary screen.
Yeah,
Like,
you can kind of
I
break out of it. Yeah. Yeah.
yes. And so that is where I like to be the most is on Instagram. You can find a lot of my works on Audible by searching Daphne Winters, and you'll also find an author named Daphne with a last name that's not the same. But if you find a book narrated by Daphne Winters, you can click on that title and then click my name, and it'll take you to only titles that are done by me. I also narrate under Daphne Rivers for non explicit books and YA books. So if you need a family friendly listen without some spicy scenes, you can find those under that name. In my link tree in Instagram, it's in my bio. There's links to my website as well. So I have a lot of my works on there. And if you're an author looking to work with me, the best way, if you want to go through a publisher, is to request me. That's the easiest way for me to get on a roster. And if you don't want to do it one on one, that's super easy for you. Otherwise, I have contracts outside of ACX and outside of production companies that I can work with you just one on one. But you can also find me on ACX if you want to work through there. So yeah, those are all my spots.
Well, thank you again. And everybody that's listening, Adversity is out today, so you can go listen to Daphne on Adversity. Also, if you are somebody that likes to follow along an ebook version while listening on audiobooks, that's a thing. Like people love to be like very immersive. The Adversity ebook is on sale today through so today, April 7th through I believe it's on sale for the next week. So yeah, you guys can listen to Adversity, hear the amazing work that Daphne and Rowan did, and yeah, thank you again, Daphne, for everything.
Of course. Thank you. Also, people, please tell us your favorite lines from the book because,
Yes.
I mean, honestly, we're always wondering like what hits with listeners. I
Yeah.
know what I had fun narrating, right? But I want to know what you guys loved because sometimes it tells me something I'm doing well that I don't know that I'm doing well. So,
I would love to hear them too. I always think it's interesting. I always think it's interesting what jumps out to people because it's often not what I think it's going to be.
yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes I'm like, okay, this is gonna be a line that people are into, but yeah, it's not always the ones I think. So, well, Daphne, thank you again. But everybody listening, thank you. We'll talk to you soon.